Welcome to SS2 Agricultural Science, Term 3, Week 9. A value chain describes all the activities and actors involved in bringing a product from its origin to its final consumer and adding value at each step. Understanding the agricultural value chain is essential for students who will either farm professionally or participate in agribusiness. By the end of this lesson, you will define a value chain and describe its components, map a typical Nigerian agricultural value chain, distinguish between value chain actors and their roles, explain value addition and its importance, identify constraints in Nigeria's agricultural value chains, and answer WAEC questions on agricultural value chains and agribusiness. Let us begin. What is a value chain? A value chain is the full range of activities that businesses and workers do to bring a product from its conception through design, raw material sourcing, production, processing, distribution, and marketing to the final consumer. Value addition: each step in the chain adds value: physical change, storage, transportation, processing, packaging, or marketing that makes the product worth more to the buyer than the raw material. Example: a farmer produces raw cassava, low value; a processor converts it to gari or cassava flour, higher value; a packager packs it attractively, more value; a distributor transports it to urban markets, more value; a retailer sells in a supermarket, more value, and much higher price than the farm gate price. The difference between the price the farmer receives and the price the final consumer pays represents the total value added across the chain, and who captures what share of this value matters enormously for farm income. Key terms: supply chain, the physical flow of goods from production to consumption. Value chain, the supply chain plus all the value-adding activities and the relationships between actors. Market chain, similar to value chain, sometimes used for specific market-oriented analysis. Subsistence agriculture produces food primarily for consumption at home, limited participation in value chains. Commercial agriculture is focused on producing for the market, full value chain participation. Let us trace the cassava value chain in Nigeria as a concrete example. 1. Input supply, seed suppliers/nurseries, cassava stems, fertilizer dealers, agrochemical dealers, tractor hire or manual labor. 2. Production, primary production, smallholder farmers. Most of Nigeria's cassava is grown by smallholder farmers on less than 2 hectares, large-scale commercial cassava farms, fewer but important. 3. Post-harvest handling, harvesting, manual in Nigeria, no mechanized cassava harvester widely adopted, peeling, washing, transportation from farm to processing site. 4. Processing to gari, grating, pressing, frying, mostly cottage/household level, processing to cassava flour, starch, ethanol, animal feed, industrial level, processing to fufu, abacha, traditional methods. 5. Storage, processed gari can be stored for months, raw cassava deteriorates rapidly, 24 to 72 hours, one of the biggest constraints. 6. Transportation/logistics, road transport from farms to markets, often in bad condition in rural Nigeria, adds cost and time. 7. Wholesale and retail trade, wholesale markets, Mile 12 Lagos, Onitsha, Bodija Ibadan, retail markets, supermarkets, export agents. 8. Consumption, domestic consumers, gari is one of Nigeria's most consumed foods, industrial users, starch for industries, export markets, or cassava chips for livestock feed in Asia. Key actors: farmers, input dealers, processors, traders, assemblers, wholesalers, retailers, transporters, financial institutions, providing credit, regulatory agencies, NAFDAC, SUN, FSSCE equivalent, research institutions, extension agents, consumer organizations. Why value addition matters: raw agricultural products have low prices and are perishable, they must be sold quickly, often at low prices. Processing converts perishable raw materials into shelf-stable products that can be stored, transported, and sold at higher prices. Value-added products command premium prices. Value addition creates rural employment in processing, packaging, transportation. Export revenue, processed products have higher and more stable export value than raw commodities. Nigeria exports raw cocoa beans but processes very little into chocolate domestically. If cocoa were processed to chocolate in Nigeria, the export value per ton would be 5 to 10 times higher, same for raw cashew nuts versus processed cashew kernels. Examples of value addition in Nigeria: groundnuts, groundnut oil, groundnut cake, groundnut butter, cassava gari, cassava flour, starch, ethanol, animal feed, tomatoes, tomato paste, tomato puree, canned tomatoes, reducing post-harvest losses, cowpea bean flour, mwamwa, akara, sorghum beer, burukutu, pito, sorghum flour, fish, smoked fish, dried fish, fish powder. Post-harvest losses: up to 40 to 50% of perishable fruits and vegetables in Nigeria are lost between harvest and consumption. This is a massive economic loss. Reducing post-harvest losses through better storage, cold storage, hermetic bags, processing, is one of the most impactful ways to improve value chain efficiency. Hermetic storage technology, using airtight grain storage bags, e.g. PICS bags, Purdue improved crop storage, prevents insect damage and moisture absorption, very effective and affordable for smallholder farmers, widely promoted by IITA and extension agents in Nigeria for maize and cowpea storage. Constraints in Nigerian agricultural value chains: infrastructure gaps, poor rural roads mean farm gate prices are low and city retail prices are high, transportation costs eat much of the value added. Cold storage: Nigeria lacks a functioning cold chain for perishable products, post-harvest losses are enormous. Electricity: unreliable electricity increases processing costs, generator-dependent processing is expensive. Access to finance: smallholder farmers and small processors struggle to access credit for input purchase, storage, or equipment. High interest rates in Nigeria, 20-30% plus, are prohibitive. Information gaps: farmers often have poor price information and are exploited by middlemen. Mobile phone-based market information systems, e.g. Isoko, Farm Crowdy, are helping. Standards and quality: lack of consistent quality standards discourages export buyers. NAFDAC and SON standards need to be better enforced and farmer-friendly. Land tenure: insecurity of land tenure discourages long-term investment in perennial crops and infrastructure. Upgrading strategies: infrastructure investment, rural roads, electricity, market infrastructure. Financial inclusion: agricultural development finance institutions, Bank of Agriculture, mobile money credit, Farm Crowdy, ThriveAgric. Market information systems, mobile apps, SMS price updates. Producer cooperatives: farmers organize collectively to negotiate better prices, access bulking, and get collective credit. Contract farming: linking farmers directly with processing companies, e.g. Flour Mills of Nigeria contracting wheat/maize farmers, guarantees market and price. Value addition through processing: establishing cottage, small-scale, or industrial processors closer to production zones. Key points: value chain: all activities from production input to final consumer, with value added at each step. Key steps in the Nigerian cassava value chain: input, supply, production, post-harvest, processing, storage, transport, trade, consumption. Value addition: converts low-value perishables into shelf-stable, premium-priced products. Examples: groundnut oil, gari, tomato paste, smoked fish, cashew kernel versus raw nut. Post-harvest losses: 40 to 50% for perishables, major economic loss, hermetic bags, cold storage, processing can reduce losses. Key constraints: poor rural roads, no cold chain, electricity, limited credit, poor market information, weak standards. Upgrading strategies: rural infrastructure, cooperative farming, contract farming, financial inclusion, market information systems. WAEC questions: define value chain, trace a specific Nigerian value chain, explain value addition with examples, state constraints, suggest solutions, compare subsistence versus commercial agriculture in value chain terms, distinguish between supply chain and value chain.